What could Obama say that would make you not agree with him?
He would have to come and pee on Larry's desk. I don't know.
Absolutely. That's my point.
And I'm always thrilled when she speaks, Larry, because I enjoy her soothing tone of voice. I use it to sandblast my pool and scare the raccoons out of my yard. She puts, you know, crosshairs on Democratic candidates. She tells people to reload in this fight. And then she says, that's crazy that what does she call us, Larry? The lamestream media. Let me wipe my eyes. She says that we're getting it all wrong, that that's any kind of, you know, dangerous rhetoric. Somebody should tell John McCain that videotape has been invented, because my favorite thing lately, Larry, is he's at the Don't Ask, Don't Tell hearing, and he's on tape saying, when the generals on the ground tell me that it's, you know, that it's okay, then that's what we'll do. And the general's sitting right in front of him telling him it's time to overturn Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and he's against it now because he's running to the right. I want the most liberal person ever, Ed, for balance. I want Shakira. I want maybe Michael Moore, maybe Castro. And I said it here on the Ed Show. Castro. The Supreme Court is already listing very far to the right with the Citizens United decision. I call them SCROTUS, the very far-right justices on the Supreme Court. And so he needs to pick a liberal. Reagan is more of a socialist than Barack Obama will ever be. He was for zero nukes. He raised taxes more than any president in peacetime. He deficit spent every year of his administration. He signed an amnesty bill on illegal immigration. I mean, Governor, where do we start here?
There's my two guests holding up my new best-selling book, American Conspiracies. Why do you think the mainstream media will not do a proper review of my book?
Let me do one right now. Let me just read it real quick. I did Evelyn Wood. Hang on. Let me take 1 second to say I've read the book because you're coming on my radio show. It's a great book. You were a much better governor than Sarah Palin and a much better wrestler than Rowdy Piper.
What does the president have to do now that just hours ago the Arizona governor has turned it into law?
We call it the Zeke Heil law on our radio show, Ed, because may I see your papers? Are you kidding me? In the year 2010, this is beyond mean-spirited, Ed.
And how much does Harry Reid have to do with being in political trouble when 26% of his population is Hispanic in Nevada? What do you think, Stephanie?
Well, he is running against someone that thinks you can use a chicken to pay for your health care, so, which is clucking ridiculous, isn't it? Talk about the power of the Tea Party, Ed. If I were the Republican Party, I'd be scared to death. This is what's happened so far, is they're driving anybody sane or moderate out of the Republican Party thus far.
Do you think John Boehner was tanning today or playing golf? I'm not sure. Which one do you think?
It's, you know what, I probably crying some of his bronzer off and then reapplying it.
What do you make of the former president speaking up like this?
Well, you know me, Ed. I'm always happy when we have more evidence for the Hague. You know, Ed, I think we all know the truth of the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed waterboarding. We had the information before we waterboarded him how many zillions of times. If it's so effective, Ed, why do you have to do it so many times?
There wasn't so much caused by BP as it was also caused by the administration's inaction. Immediate inaction.
I don't think there's anyone here who knows how to stop it, right?
Well, that's the point, but that's what I'm asking what Dana means, Larry. Well, what is the president supposed to be Aquaman? The grilling of Tony Hayworth in Congress today and the way the Republicans behaved, I mean, first of all, apparently he was only in charge of changing the toner in the copier. Apparently he was not really in charge of anything else. I think when he asked one of the congressmen to pass the Grey Poupon, I'd really sort of had enough, Ed. I hate it when I come on this show and get flanked on the left by Penn Jillette. But,
well, yeah, stop the war. Just stop it.
No,
Don't
I understand your point. I understand your point that what is
it's
the
a simple
strategy?
point.
But you know, but when people say, oh, he's breaking campaign promises. No, this is what he campaigned.
No, he's keeping the campaign promises.
He said he was going to finish the job in Afghanistan. He said Iraq was the wrong war, and he was going to finish the war.
You're
Here's
right.
my plan as a woman. I say we airlift anything with a vagina out of Afghanistan, Larry, and just leave it at that. Wait, I'm sorry. Immigration reform didn't pass under George Bush because of Obama when he was a senator? Because of Obama? Because he was one senator.
Hold on.
Comprehensive immigration reform. We got to close the borders. We got to, but there has to be a path to citizenship. I'm not as crazy a liberal as Ronald Reagan. I mean, I wouldn't talk about that kind of amnesty. But the last time we didn't pass anything, we automatically gave how many millions of people amnesty?
What Republican do you fear as a Democrat who wants Obama to be reelected?
The one I'm most afraid of is Sarah Palin. Please don't nominate her because the president could never match her intellectually. Please don't.
And we've got Liz Cheney filling in for Spinmeister Hannity. What's this business coming to?
The Hannity thing, that's kind of an easy job. As long as you can read the faxes from the RNC, I think you're good to go there.
Who did not see Charlie Rangel today? What did you make of it?
I loved it. Not as a partisan thing, Tavis, just as a political theater. He just went all like Al Pacino on their ass, didn't he? He was just like, what kind of show are you guys running here? I'm Charlie Rangel.
Stephanie Miller is a progressive talk radio host of her own radio show. She came out as a lesbian last week on her program, and she supports, of course, same-sex marriage. Why did you come out?
Well, why do you assume I'm for gay marriage? I might be afraid of commitment. You don't know. I think everybody knows, Larry, that Rush Limbaugh married another woman finally a little while ago, and if I could not have the one man that could complete me, there really was no other choice. Quite seriously, Larry, this was a very personal decision for me. I've been out to my friends and family for many years. I just hadn't talked about it on the radio. I'm a very private person. But as you know, my dad ran for vice president with Barry Goldwater. Very conservative family, Republican, Catholic. Part of my message is I spent so many years thinking they would judge me, that I judge them. When I came out to them, they couldn't have been more loving and supportive. And it is a critical time, Larry, in a critical civil rights struggle, I think, in our country. I think it is a time when you need to say, I am not going to keep cheering gay rights from the sidelines. I'm going to step down on the battlefield and be part of it.
Stephanie, do you think that Dr. Laura made a racist comment?
I don't see how you can say that any other way. I mean, and please, Judith, quitting her multi-million-dollar-a-year job is losing her First Amendment right. Who's taking her First Amendment rights away from her? What did she say to the woman? Don't NAACP me?
Right.
Well, don't KKK me if you don't want me to NAACP
All right,
me. Well, first of all, it's not a mosque, as you know, and it's not at Ground Zero. It's like an Islamic, I don't know, rec room, an Islamic rumpus room. My last dream, I want the African-American caller that called Dr. Laura to get her own show, because she's clearly a much better therapist than Dr. Laura. She's like, okay, I need you to breathe. Yeah, you're not black. You're not black. You want to show me on the doll where the black person touched you? Okay.
And Stephanie also recently came out, and Stephanie, do you have any sympathy towards Ken Mehlman coming out at this late juncture in his life?
Cenk, I do. I obviously have, a little more of a unique take on this. And in my case, I've just always been a very private person, and I'm not prepared to claim moral superiority over Ken Mehlman. This is what I've been trying to say, Cenk, and why I did it. That this is not a partisan issue. This is a human and civil rights issue now.
What was it for you? I mean, what tipped you over?
Again, I'm not sort of, prepared to have a courage off with anybody. People said that about Ellen or Rosie or, but you don't know. Could Ellen have gotten her first sitcom if she'd come out earlier? Could Rosie have gotten her first talk show if she had? My friend Shelley Wright, the country singer, said, if you think I could have gotten a record contract in Nashville if I'd come out earlier, you're wrong. Could I have gotten my first radio show? I don't know, Cenk, but I think that it's not for me to judge other people on when they do it. I do think it's ironic that, nobody took away Dr. Laura's First Amendment rights. She quit her own multi-million-dollar radio show. In several states, I could still get fired for being gay. So that's why I did it, because I was inspired by a lot of brave people like the Shelley Wrights of the world that, may have had more to lose professionally. So I think it's a different path. I mean, what I'm concerned about is that he says he's still a Republican. The enemy he's sleeping with, in my opinion, is not a man. It's the Republican Party, because this is not a party that is interested in gay rights at all. And when he says George Bush is not a homophobe, he also allowed gays to be used as a battering ram and a wedge issue. And when he was governor of Texas, he was not just for gays not being able to adopt, Cenk. He was for taking kids away from gay couples that had already adopted them and loved them. So, he's got some more rethinking to do, I think. You can't argue about math, Larry. Yes, good people on both sides can disagree, but we cannot disagree that we were losing nearly 800,000 jobs a month when George Bush left office, and we are going in the right direction now. Joy, you can't help but go, there is something different happening here, and there must be a racial component, because I have never heard of parents in this country saying they're afraid of their kids listening to the president. I mean, George Bush talked to our kids. That's probably why our test scores are so low.
Christine O'Donnell, mice with human brains. What do you make of it?
Fully functioning human brains. And here's what I think scientists need to work on next. I think they need to see if we can find a Tea Party candidate that has a fully functioning brain. That could be a longer quest. Here's the one issue I can get excited about is her anti-masturbation platform, Ed. I'm going to be leading the Million Masturbator March in Washington. Will you give me a hand with that? Will you give me a hand, Ed? What about 30% of Ohio voters, Ed, say that he spends too much time in the tanning bed, and I think the other 70% said he spends too much time in bed with lobbyists.
Your state of California, the gubernatorial race. Here's Meg Whitman.
I know many of you see this election as an unhappy choice between a longtime politician with no plan for the future and a billionaire with no government experience.
Your thoughts?
Wow. I'm a billionaire, completely out of touch with you, and I have no experience. But listen, I've spent good money on this. Vote for me, damn you. You know, the Jon Stewart rally, we don't know which is the comedy and which is real. I mean, look at Christine O'Donnell. Like, when did you ever think you would see an ad saying, I'm not a witch, I'm just like you? She's never held a job or a house, and she doesn't masturbate. She's not like anyone I know.
Stephanie, how about Christine O'Donnell? She wasn't crying. She was partying when she lost.
Along with not studying constitutional law, she also didn't study concession speeches, Cenk. What was the, hey, we've got the room and hors d'oeuvres, you guys. This will be great. Whatever.
Huckabee in the drugstore? Well, they want the Obama girls to get a TSA pat down.
But I don't think there's a human being in the world that would want to pat down Rush Limbaugh. You know, they just ran on reducing the deficit, but they're fine adding tax cuts for the rich that are going to add the huge bulk of these deficits. That's what they're fighting for. Schumer put forth a compromise at up to $1 million a year. Republicans voted that down. It's not enough. Nothing is enough for them. They've got to protect the very, very rich.
When you put a tax on someone who is contributing to society, it causes them to hold back. I think when you also feed into a system that is not fair, it is contributing.
They've had these tax rates for the last 8 years. The right wing has been all over the place about this guy should be executed for treason. He's not even an American citizen. They're saying we should invade a country that he's in. As you say, there hasn't been a trial, but you know what the word is that his condom broke, which is what's considered a sex crime in that country. So it's hardly I mean, it's a different kind of WikiLeaks is all I'm saying we're talking about here. But